Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
The Nigerian police force, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Hello, good evening. You're welcome to the program called Legally Speaking. It's a Friday at 5 to 6. That's what we do on Fly Radio 101.1 FM and Spectrum TV. My name is Anthony Ebuka. I'm a legal practitioner with law partners and associates. I have with me in the studio another legal practitioner, Ekemini Udum. Ekemini Udum is of Justice Chambers. Ekemini, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right. I also have with me in the studio Hannah Essien. Hannah is a teacher, a regular face on the program. Hannah, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, on Legally Speaking today, we'll be looking at a Supreme Court order that has directed the banks and the federal government of Nigeria to continue the circulation of the old Naira notes along with the new pending the determination of the substantive suit that has been brought by the federal government or some states, 3 states against the federal government of Nigeria. That's what we'll be examining. But first, we go over to 2 very recent decisions of the Federal High Court. One sitting in Abuja, the other sitting in Uyo. All of them talking about the governorship contest of the PDP in Akwa Ibom State. The person of Mo Eno versus the representative Honorable Young. Mike and Young, right? Mike and Young. So let's start with Ekemini on that. Ekemini, I guess that's your party. You're a PDP person and you are familiar with the internal workings of that party. So let's start with you.
Are we discussing party or we're discussing legally speaking?
Legally speaking, we are discussing the court case within the political party.
It's the season again where we see a lot of judgments coming as a result of politicians not also allowing the courts to rest, because politicians have taken over our courtrooms. I was telling my friend the other day that I'm going to do a protest very soon, that the courtrooms have been taken over by the politicians. They file a lot of cases, and these cases come to swallow the very critical cases of the economy, cases of family, cases of many other very important things. Have been relegated to the background as a result of these political cases that are time bound, and when they come, they just take the front seat. But like you've said, Umoino's decision, Umoino and Babantan.
Mike and Young.
Well, you're talking about Mike and Young. I'm talking about a name that a lot of people will easily understand, and that's the Babantan, that people know. So we understand that today the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja refused the application for stay of execution, which was filed by the Umoino camp, Umoino's camp. The court has said we cannot stay execution in view of the fact that an appeal has been entered in the Court of Appeal. And if that is the reason, as we have read on the pages of newspapers, if that is the reason, then that is the law. Once an appeal has been entered in the Court of Appeal, the entry of appeal in the Court of Appeal means that you have taken everything to the Court of Appeal. An appeal number has been given to your appeal. That means the Court of Appeal is seized with the jurisdiction over that matter, that means you cannot make an application to any other court except to the Court of Appeal. That's the law that's contained also in the Court of Appeal rules. So it is for that reason, as we have read, that the court says, well, every application should go to the Court of Appeal. We do not have jurisdiction over this matter anymore. But I understand that the court has adjourned the matter to 15th of March for reports of what happened, at the Court of Appeal. I also understand that a similar matter came up before the Federal High Court here in Uyo, and the Federal High Court in Uyo has declined jurisdiction over the matter. So PDP is still having some issues to grapple with.
All right, Hannah, you've read a little of that judgment. What came to your mind when you saw the two of them? The questions that would normally arise, because the listeners are trying to unravel what went down. Why are there so many court cases? You are telling me a federal high court, and decisions are sounding different, locations are sounding different. It's quite confusing to a lot of untrained ears.
Well, when I read that there was a case in the Federal High Court Abuja, and there was also another one in Federal High Court Uyo, requesting for the same thing.
Almost the same thing.
It was almost the same thing. Setting aside or stay of execution?
Yes, the stay of execution setting aside.
Why one person would take the same matter to two different courts of concurrent jurisdiction, right?
Okay.
Two federal high courts, one sitting in Abuja and one sitting in Uyo, to request for the same thing. Now, there's something I saw there that you didn't mention. It said that Moino went to the Federal High Court with the reason that he wasn't joined in the appeal, that he wasn't part of the appeal that was the case has been appealed. Remember last time we talked, we said Moino was not part of the
High Court matter.
So that he wasn't part of the appeal. That was why they took this matter to the Federal High Court. But the Federal High Court said, notwithstanding, the case is already in the Court of Appeal, so they are going to wait for the Court of Appeal, that they don't want. It's a higher court, they do not have jurisdiction anymore. So I'm wondering, the question on my mind was, how can somebody take the same matter to two different courts in different parts of the country?
Well, you see, generally speaking, it is assumed that the Federal High Court has one jurisdiction. That's across Nigeria. Federal High Court Kano is the same Federal High Court, one court, different administrative divisions. All right. So one could institute some cases, and recently the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court has stated or made it a rule that it's either you're hearing your matter in Abuja or at your home base. That's like Uyo.
Okay.
All right. So Moino has a critical situation. He wasn't a part of that matter at the beginning. To be part of it and to join the appeal or even appeal against that decision, he needs leave of court. So he doesn't appeal automatically, even when the matter affects him. So he has to apply to court to join him as an interested party. When he's joined as an interested party, then he can ventilate his grievances. But until he's joined as an interested party, he cannot, as of right, file appeal against it. All right. Now, there are really lots of questions as to the position of the PDP, the party itself that was sued, and the presentation they made at the lower court. Okay. But now at the Court of Appeal, I also understand they have filed an appeal to. That should be the appeal Moino will want to join. The court has rightly said, like Ekemini also said, when my matter has been entered at the Court of Appeal, it's not just filing a notice of appeal. We want to intend to appeal against this decision. You have to go further to express your desire to prosecute it by transmitting the records of appeal. When you transmit the records of appeal, everything concerning that matter has moved to the Court of Appeal. So if you come to the lower court to start asking questions and making applications, set aside the judgment, which judgment is no longer with us? Grant us stay of execution on what? The file is no longer with us. So the law says everybody now has to move to the Court of Appeal. Every application you want to make it there. Right? Yeah. This is a pre-election matter, so we have an impression that, okay, we are going to do it quickly. 2-3 days, 5 days to file appeal, file rejoinder on the appellant's brief, reply brief, and the matter can be heard within 10 days. Can be ripe for hearing within 10 days if every party complies with the provisions of the court. But that's as it is. Whereas every person affected by such maybe who has a grievance on pre-election matters has the powers or rights to file his grievance before Uyo, Federal High Court Uyo. He can also file at Abuja. All right.
Sorry, let me come in here. How recently was, you said who has made it mandatory now that
the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, you know, because of the
what I'm asking is because this judgment that granted
is said to have come
from Damaturu.
Well, I think the understanding here is not necessarily that it was Damaturu.
Okay.
Is that the court, the judge who sat is a judge who normally would sit at Damaturu, but was on sitting as a vacation judge. Now, during that period, there are times when courts are on breaks. 1 or 2 courts will be asked to stay in each region as vacation judges. Vacation judges only handle very urgent matters. So for one reason or the other, that matter was handled by a judge of Damaturu sitting as a vacation judge. So it also makes us understand why there are issues of venue of the appeal, you know, or venue of the application for stay of execution, or to set aside the judgment, because that's the tricky part now. All right. So, Ekemini, any other thing you want to join on that before we move to the other?
Well, Omono needs to be joined to that matter because he's an interested party. As a matter of fact, he was the person that won the primaries at the Gospel Aquabio Stadium, and therefore,
are you talking as a judge now?
No, not as a judge, but
as a PDP person.
Well, not as a PDP person.
Now, how would you know how and when he won?
We saw it on video. It was all over.
But now the judge, the court is saying he wasn't.
Well, that's why Omono also have been joined to that matter from the beginning, so that Omono will say that will have his own side of the story.
But as a lawyer, you know you don't want to join Omono because you want to have a clean case.
I have a problem in finding that kind of a matter without including the name of the person that the party had issued the certificates to. The party had returned and has given his name to INEC. Ideally, Umono also have been, you know, in that matter as a necessary party. You can contest it there and then be able to wrestle it from Umono.
But
that would be
would you think that the legal handlers of Umono were not aware that this case was pending and did nothing to join because they felt, I'm not a party, the decision won't affect me?
Well, if the Umono camp was aware of the pendency of this matter and they failed to make an application immediately to the court, whether in Damaturu or Abuja, then that was a clear disservice on their part. You don't do that. They ought to have filed an application immediately to be joined. Look at what happened in Itanang's matter. Itanang went to court and raised his hand. I said, my Lord, I am interested in this matter. That day, I think judgment was to be given or adoption. And the court said, well, something new has been brought to the court. I'm not going to proceed with this matter. I will adjourn to enable him file an application for me to consider. And that's how it should be. So if Umono's camp had been aware with the array of lawyers Umono has, and nobody could make an application for Umono to be joined, then that was a clear disservice to the interest of Umono. Now, it has happened, judgment has been delivered, and that judgment has very serious consequences against the candidacy of Umono. And that's the reality of it, that's the truth about it. You know, judgment of court takes immediate effect. The implication is that if this judgment is not set aside, whether by the trial court or by the court of appeal before the election, the implication is that the person whose face is on the ballot, though you don't normally have the faces of people on the ballot in Nigeria, but the electorate would know the candidate of the political party. That's why I'm saying the person whose face is on the ballot, okay, will be Babanta and not Umoino.
Okay.
And this is
sorry, let me put this in. I remember when we were talking about this you're saying that you've repeated that PDP ought to have joined Umoino. But I recall that PDP didn't even respond. It was only INEC that had responded, given a response to was it writ of someone? INEC said they are a neutral party, and the judgment was given because there was nothing from PDP, and INEC had said they were, if I recall, wasn't that the case?
Well, that's also the case because the judgment had stated clearly that PDP, in spite of the service on them, did not file any response and did not even show up in court, which is another very terrible thing.
Well, before you qualify that terrible, I understand too that there's a move by PDP to even deny the service. So that's why there was an application to set aside the judgment. That's fine, I suspect that over time there might be further revelations on that which will throw more light.
No, certainly when this,
and that if they were served, they would have notified
or maybe
the local.
Talking about joining.
Well, the application is yet to be determined as to whether they were served or they were not served. But I'm talking based on the judgment that I have read. It's not much. It's about 22 pages, and I have read it. Judgment of 22 pages is very brief for any lawyer that is in practice. So the judge is saying PDP was served, they did not appear. Now, if truly PDP was served at the national and they did not appear, then that itself was unacceptable. It's not supposed to be done like that. PDP is an organization, and every organization should respond to court processes, no matter how frivolous you think the process is.
Yeah, that's why I don't want us to look at it as though it's true PDP wasn't served. Because strangely enough,
I'm talking based on the judgment.
Let me ask a question. Based on that judgment,
I'm talking based on that judgment. Was there not a portion of the judgment that said forget every other purported election?
Okay.
No, the judgment has said that. You see, the judgment is saying that PDP did not respond, and I'm
saying
that based on that judgment, they did not even put up an appearance.
Yes.
Now I'm saying based on that judgment, if it is true that PDP was served, and it was PDP that forwarded Umoino's name to INEC, and PDP refused to go and defend, then that was clear negligence on the part of the legal department of PDP at the national. Now, PDP, like you have said, they have gone to court to contest even the service. That's fine. If they contest and it is ascertained clearly that there was no service on PDP, then that's a good ground to set aside the judgment. Because without service, judgment, even if it is built in the most solid manner, it's certainly going to collapse. Service is fundamental.
All right.
So, but you see, the problem that PDP has now in this matter is the problem of time. You have talked about abridgment of time to 10 days. What if it is abridged and Babantan says, my lord, I will not be able to take that 10 days. I will still take my constitutional time, which is 60 days in the constitution, for an appeal to be determined.
No,
so
but
that's the problem.
That has been breached because these are pre-election matters that are time bound. The courts now have the liberty to impose on you how much time.
The abridgment is already in the constitution, which says 60 days.
Yeah.
So the man can still contest that. But let's hope that it is abridged. Abridged, so that parties can come before the court as soon as possible, so that this matter can be decided, so that PDP will know exactly who their candidate is. If their candidate is Umoino, then they should know. If their candidate is Babantan, then they should know. But I think that for the electorate, for the members of the PDP, there is need for them to be made to know exactly who they are voting for as parties are moving in to the election, later this month and then early next month.
All right, that's it. Yes, we are legally speaking. The numbers you would call if you want to join the conversation is 090-222-31011. Repeat that number, 090-222-31011. 31011. The alternative number to call will be 070-454-17707. I repeat that alternative number, 070-454-17707. We've been talking about the Court of Appeal rulings, the Federal High Court to the rule. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, on to Legally Speaking.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is Samuel calling from Uyo.
Samuel is calling from
you. I want to be more enlightened on this PDP issue of getting candidate and please, I want to know who is the real candidate. Please let me understand it more. Who is the real candidate for now for PDP? Thank you very much.
Right, okay. Hannah, you want to take it? Hannah, take it.
Well, I believe for now, according to the court order, the candidate for PDP should be Honorable Mike Young.
Mike Young?
Yes.
All right, let's take the second call. Hello? All right, lost that call. So, yeah, you want to say that, Kevin?
Yeah, you know, if you go by the principle that judgment of court of law must be implemented.
You don't need to go by the principle. That's the principle.
But if you go by the principle, so that means that Babantan is the candidate of the PDP at the moment. But note, there is also a problem. Remember that the antebellum case.
Hello, let's take this call. Hello. Hello. Yes, we are not hearing you. Okay.
So remember that the antebellum case that was filed by Friday Walk and two others and a lot of other people went up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court validated the conduct of primaries that was done with the ad hoc delegates which sought to the emergence of Umoino. So there is a judgment of the Supreme Court supporting Umoino. I understand there is also another judgment of the Court of Appeal supporting Umoino, which gives INEC a lot of headache right now as to which of the judgments.
Yes, hello.
Hello?
Yeah, welcome to the show. This is Legally Speaking.
Oh, this is Godwin from Uyo.
Godwin from Uyo. Go on, sir.
Hello?
We are hearing you very loud and clear. Go on, sir.
Okay. We conversation you are discussing on the line.
Okay.
The judgment between Abata with Omoino.
Sorry, we're short of time.
All right, Godwin, try and get back to us when you put your question together. All right, thank you very much for your calling, us. All right, let's move further. I think we'll still get back to Boino and Babanta. I think it's a very interesting aspect of this.
I'm interested in what Kimini has brought up.
Yeah, so with the fact that there is a job.
Hello.
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 We're asking about the new currency.
Yes, we are still getting there, sir. Thank you very much for your call. When we start that topic, you can call and ask again. Okay, round up, let's go.
Yeah, so you can see the dilemma that INEC has now. There's a judgment of the Supreme Court that supports Umoino. There's a judgment of the Court of Appeal, the antebellum case supports Umoino. This one is a judgment of the Federal High Court that supports Babanta. Which one will INEC take now? Well, their legal department will be able to determine that so that we can log onto their portal and see whose name is there, you know, for Akwa Ibom. I think this is not the best of time for the PDP Akwa.
All right, talking about the best of times, the Supreme Court has recently pushed indefinitely, at least until the substantive motion on notice has been taken. The stop and swap of currencies. Yes, in Nigeria, the three governors of Zamfara were away, took the federal government to court and sought, amongst other reliefs, at least under the interim order, the expected order, the postponement of the deadline for the stoppage of the usage of the old Naira notes. Now it has thrown a lot of confusion into the system. The CBN has said come the 10th of February 2023, the old notes will remain old and useless notes. But as of today, the old note is still a legal tender by virtue of an ex parte order by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Now, it has raised a lot of questions from people who know the law and those who know the Naira. And those who know the law are saying the Supreme Court has spoken, and that's the apex court on the land, and whatever the Supreme Court says is God and must be obeyed until you meet the other God. That's when you die. Now, the Naira, those who know the Naira are saying we have our timeline, we shouldn't be bound by the decision of the Supreme Court, and we were not joined to the suit of the Supreme Court. It was just the Federal Republic of Nigeria was a party to it. Now we are asking these questions. The masses are asking these questions. Where goes us from here? So let's go through the process of obtaining an ex parte order to frustrate the policy of the federal government of Nigeria.
I don't know if it was obtained to frustrate. So on that part, yeah.
No, it has actually frustrated because as of today, the federal government they had to meet. The central bank will have to meet. Commercial banks will have to meet to fashion a way out because they've been frustrated.
Well, the Supreme Court has spoken on the matter, ex parte. It doesn't take so much to file an ex parte application before the court. What does it mean? Ex parte means hear me alone for now. Don't allow the other person to hear about what I'm doing now before the court. Grant my application first. After you have granted, we will save it on the other person for them to now come to court and show the court why this order should not be extended further. Hello? Or why this order should be set aside. So, hello. And
hello. Yes, you're welcome to the show. I just like the language. Just I don't understand what you say. So please call us back with the language we will understand.
No, but I wanted to engage her in that same language. Would answer the KB, and all that. So you stopped me from speaking that language.
It's just unfortunate that you will be breaking somebody's language.
We don't want to have the Tower of Babel here. Otherwise, I'll start speaking Spanish.
Well, it's a different language altogether. But let's not go there. Let's not go into different things. Anyway. So, ex parte order, it can easily be given pending when the other person comes to court to contest that order.
Hello.
Or refuse to contest it.
Hello, you're legally speaking?
Yeah, Bertini, and Hannah, Senior, the right December.
All right.
Is Levi Bossy? Yeah, good afternoon. Is Levi Bossy December?
Levi, welcome to the show.
Yeah. I was speaking English. I was speaking tongue like I can say. I wanted to use another language.
God bless you, sir.
It's English, please.
God bless you, sir.
I think it is high time whoever is in charge of the judiciary, be it the CJN or anybody, should call the judiciary to order, because they are gradually allowing themselves to be utilized by politicians as agents of confusion to destabilize our political system. A situation where a few days ago, the Supreme Court gave us, a profoundly obnoxious ruling, which was totally based on technicalities, imposing a candidate that was not part of the primaries to be the standard bearer of a political party in a senatorial election, and a situation where just a few minutes ago, you guys were having a conversation about the whole issue, and Mike, I'll have a judgment from a particular court. The other party will go to another court, acquire a judgment just because it has some affiliation to the judge or something. It's called forum shopping, and you know that. And if you keep going at this pedestal, at some point you lose steam. This cannot be tolerated in a democracy. Now, I heard today that in Kano, the Kano Attorney General has also gone to the Supreme Court to seek the interpretation of the courts about the role of the CBN in this particular narrow swap issue. Just 2 days ago, the Attorney General of about 3 states also went to the same court, acquired another judgment, and I mean, just the Attorney General also went there to challenge all the ex parte motions that have been filed in that particular court. What is happening? I mean, they consider responsibilities. Their land issues they are yet to settle. There are a lot of other cases, other matters pending the society that have been given 2, 3, 4, 5 years hearing dates, and we are in the same country, and the politicians have totally confused and ravaged the entire judicial system with a myriad of cases, judgment here, judgment there. I mean, someone just has to step in, because if we keep going with the way we are going, I don't know. I don't just know. It's something else.
All right, Levi Bassi.
It's getting crazy, and something drastic just needs to be done, either by the CJN or by somebody else. Levi Bassi from Osoma. Thanks and God bless.
All right, thank you, Levi Bassi. Maybe he will do us a letter, and when we get to see the CJN or somebody else, we'll give that letter to him. Levi Bassi gives you a stern warning.
No, but he has made it.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's what we've been talking about.
And he's speaking the minds of many Nigerian citizens who are very worried about what's going on. But as a lawyer, I will not be as worried as him. I would rather say that things can still be done to ensure that we stick to the path of the Constitution. We stick to the path of what is already established. I mean, there's nothing so new.
All right. Hello.
Law.
Hello. Just step away from your radio set if it's making some noise.
So we were talking about ex parte order. Well, it's been granted. For want of time, we may not really need to expound on it too much, but it's been granted. Now, when ex parte order is granted, time is given for the other party to come to court, now on notice, to come and show why the ex parte order should not stand, or why it should not be extended, maybe interlocutory now, to make it have a longer lifespan. And I understand that the Supreme Court is going to sit on the 15th of this month to hear the same matter. So when they go, I am sure that the 3 states, their lawyers would say, my lords, we have just been served by the Attorney General's office, and so we need time to respond. And that takes us, I'm sure that can take us to next month.
Hello,
before...
this is Legally speaking.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Franklin, calling from Boki Cross River.
Boki Cross River State. Franklin, go on, sir.
Also, is CBN above the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
It's a good question. We will attempt to answer it.
This is getting out of hand.
All right, Mr. Franklin.
That was my question for now. Whether they are above the law.
Thank you very much, Mr. Franklin.
God has governed all of us at the citizen of this country.
All right. So, I think answering straight to Franklin, I don't think that CBN is above the law, and I'm sure they are not trying to exhibit such
I don't think so.
attitudes.
I don't think so.
Today, I would imagine that the CBN has been a very long meeting trying to figure out the next step going forward, having regards to the new position of the law, and maybe all the things. Yes, hello, you want to legally speak?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. This is Thompson. I'm calling from you.
Thompson is calling from you. Go on, sir.
Please, I want to ask now about our clients where we're still using the old one, the new one, because I don't even know the reason why our Mr. President will follow the judgment of the court. And I can't blame him. I blame the judiciary because he put us to the law. Be happy in this country because of bribe and other. But God will look at all of you. And I know one day God will rise up for the judgment. In short, I don't want to say much. God will judge everybody because many people are suffer. Many people want their soul because there's no money. Many they are not sick and now they don't have money to treat them. Why the dear commenter very, very wicked like this?
Please.
God will judge them.
Please calm down.
And they will never be well with their family.
No, calm down, please. Sorry, you don't use such language in public.
Radio.
Yeah.
It's
court. I can appreciate the frustration.
Yeah,
there are certain things you notice when you go to the bank.
Yeah.
Very well dressed gentlemen. But of recent, you have naked people in the bank. Yeah. People just undress in the bank. It's absurd, but that's what the times are like, right?
But has it really called for that?
It has.
To undress in the bank?
It has.
And after the undressing, do you still get up to 100,000 naira in compensation for the undressing?
Well, do they even get the money after the undressing? Hello.
Good evening. My name is I'm calling from William.
Okay, go on, sir.
Please, I want to be clarified on this issue of this central bank and the CBN and the Supreme Court issue. The issue about this new Naira notes, are we still collecting that the old one or not?
Thank you very much. So, Ekemini, with that question, I think it's important to underscore that I don't know if Section 20 of the CBN Act, the provision of that section is that you don't have a timeline for collection of old Naira notes. It's supposed to be indefinite. If you have the money, you bring it to the bank will give you a value of it, go to CBN and recover it. That's what the National Assembly is raising against MFLA. Where there's a clear provision of an act that says this is how this will run. Where there's a change of currency, people will just keep changing it gradually. Look at what happened in England. England changed from the head of the Queen to the head of the King. So there's a new Naira note. But there are no queues. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. This is Larry. I'm calling from you.
Larry from Uyo. Go on, sir.
Please, I consider the old currency and the new currency I want to talk about. If the federal government cannot find solution between today and tomorrow, they should wait for war by Nigeria from next tomorrow.
No, sorry. Sorry.
They should wait for war because we are not animals. Like what I put them there, they cannot suffer us.
Please, can you cut that call? Thank you very much. Now, we are not at war.
We are not at war. I mean,
the fact that we have not, the money in circulation is not as much as it used to be, does not mean that there is no progress. We've made progress. The Central Bank of Nigeria obviously wants to limit Naira, the volume of Naira notes that are in circulation. They've encouraged all Nigerians to go digital, so you can be spending your money by transfers. All right, it saves the economy. It saves cost of production of Naira. We are at the teething stage. I know when we graduate and get to do it properly, every one of us will be happy for it. One, it keeps your money safe for you. You don't have armed robbers attacking you from time to time. Hello, you're on to Legally Speaking.
Hello, Legally Speaking. Good evening, every one of you there in the studio.
Good evening, sir.
No, good evening. Yes, this is David. I'm calling from Ibiana.
David from Ibiana.
I want to speak on the issue of this very morning. The situation is that the federal government was doing this the Central Bank of Nigeria was doing this to pay for the common men in the city, but now it is in favor of the big men, those in the government. Why I'm saying that those in the government was strategizing to give their money back, then they will caution the CBN government to do it in some of them. Because of that, we have deposited our little money we have in the bank, but now they are just trying to have the CBN government to allow them to go and spend their big old money they were holding in their own. We are suffering. Only God will judge this very nation and those who are planning bad for this nation.
All right. Thank you very much. And I believe the just God will judge properly. Now we have a judgment or an order of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, and that's what we are trying to extract. A lot of people have said the court did not have jurisdiction to entertain that application in the first place. Some say the central bank is not bound to obey that order because they were not parties to it.
Let me hear from you. Does the Supreme Court have jurisdiction on this matter?
Now, as it stands, every application that is brought ex parte, as long as it justifies why the application has been brought, the court is bound to hear that application, make an interim order pending the hearing of the substantive motion. Now, whether or not the court has jurisdiction, when the other party comes in, the other party will raise the issue of jurisdiction and the court will decide one way or the other. If the court finds out that it has no jurisdiction, the court will vacate that order ex parte.
But let me also make a comment on that.
Let me, because I am the non-lawyer here. You've said you approach any court, so I can get up and go to the Supreme Court and ask for, with an ex parte request for an ex parte order. Is it possible for them for me to up and maybe I go to Court of Appeal and
yes, not necessarily. See, the issue about ex parte applications are necessarily urgent. the court will consider the urgency. At this point, we are just 2 days to go, and the governors have come saying we have a grievance against the federal government of Nigeria.
Okay.
We are a component state, and at that level, they have jurisdiction to entertain issues between the federal government and state government as the original jurisdiction. I hold subsequently, yes, people want to see whether the questions, the subject matter was on currency or which ordinary should be at the level of the Federal High Court. Okay. Now, that notwithstanding, where the Supreme Court has made an order, whether it's been made per incuriam, that means without as an error in law, they can set aside the order by the next adjourned date.
Well, for want of time, we'll not be able to explain more. But I think that every court in this country knows the limits of its jurisdiction. There's no court that doesn't know the limit. So if I sit as a judge, and this happens a couple of times, even in Ganeshi proceedings, you take Ganeshi, it starts ex parte. You go to the state high court, and the judge says, there is no consent of the AG. I can't even grant, and it is dismissed. So every court knows the limits of its jurisdiction. The Supreme Court of all courts knows the limit of its jurisdiction. I think that this matter, there is no dispute between 3 states and the Federation of Nigeria. This dispute is between everybody and the Central Bank of Nigeria. There's no dispute. Well, this matter? This matter is like the Umoinos matter, where Babanta knew that Umoino ought to have been joined, but it was not joined. That's the same thing that the CBN has not been joined in this matter, because they know that if they join the CBN in this matter, automatically the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court is not there. I cannot decide for my lords, the justices of the Supreme Court, but I pray that when this matter returns, their lordships would look at it again because of precedents. I have not seen clearly how the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court has come in to this very policy.
All right.
Central Bank of
Okay.
Nigeria.
Yes, that's exactly what a lot of people are saying, but there is always a second side of the coin. We have been discussing the PDP rulings of the Federal High Courts in Abuja and Uyo respectively. We've also been discussing the issue of the Supreme Court ex parte order, which we have emphasized is an order of court, whether it's made properly or per incuriam, that must be obeyed by the federal government of Nigeria and the central bank, who are the agents of the federal government of the Republic of Nigeria. And we are also sincerely hoping that the court will not give us leaders, that the leaders of every state and the federal government should be chosen by the people who eventually must have their PVCs, and not court foisting people who held primaries in their central palace on us because the other party was not represented. I think I've made my point. I have been with the community. Thank you very much for always weighing in on issues, especially the way you are so boisterous on the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Hannah Isin, you are always welcome to put a balance on the high pressure of a community. This is the size of Legally Speaking today. I believe everything you do from now till Friday next week, 5 to 6, will be legal. Thank you very much.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every